For more analysis, we can cross now to Beirut and speak to Ayman Mhanna, who is the executive director of the Samir Kassir Foundation. That's an NGO which supports press and cultural freedom. Thank you so much for speaking to us. A lot has happened since October. What would you say have been the main achievements of these last 100 days of demonstrations?
Lebanon has gone through historic 100 days. The most important achievement is what I would call the citizen awakening. For the first time in decades, Lebanese people from different regions, from different religious and sectarian affiliations, coalesce on similar social demands that do not distinguish between one Lebanese and the other. For the first time ever, we are not rallying behind sectarian leaders, and we are not defending our identity as belonging to one sect or another. We are saying that we deserve a country where all citizens are equal, where all citizens can hold all politicians accountable for their wrongdoings, and that the needs and concerns at the economic level of citizens in the north are similar to the ones in the south or in the Bekaa or in Beirut.
Okay, but those sectarian leaders you mentioned, they haven't gone away. And the new cabinet that was unveiled on Tuesday, I mean, for many of the people taking to the streets, just wasn't enough of a change from the old guard for their liking. And some saying Lebanon as divided as ever.
It is true that the new government does not represent the aspirations of the people who have demonstrated in the last 100 days. We have demanded a government of independent experts, people who can inspire trust to the Lebanese citizens, but also to the international community, people who are disconnected from political parties, the sectarian political parties that have demonstrated corruption, but also the highest levels of incompetence in leading public affairs in the last 30 years. Only half of that political class has been ousted and is now in the opposition. The other half is still as sectarian as ever and as accused of corruption as ever, still in power, although they delegated representatives or advisors as a facade to represent them in the new government. So it is true that we are far from achieving a political change that we have aspired for, but the real change that has happened is at the grassroots level among people. Yesterday, Lebanon is divided. We are not pretending that all people, 100% of the population, has lost its support for the big traditional sectarian political parties, but there is a new a new style of doing politics in Lebanon that is now pitting people against each other, not on a sectarian basis, but at the level of support to citizen demands and a very clear demand to change the way politics has been done in Lebanon. So this is the new line of fault, line of division between Lebanese.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest changes between now and 100 days ago is just that financial crisis has got markedly worse. I mean, you've probably noticed yourself going to the supermarket. Not everything you want to buy is even on offer. There's a liquidity crunch. You can't take out the money you want to take out from the ATMs. And, you know, it's clear that at some point Lebanon is going to need a bailout. That's what everyone is talking about. And yet I'm not sure the IMF and the international community wants to help Lebanon. All the while, Hezbollah is on the scene. How do we break that impasse, do you think?
First of all, before talking about a bailout from the IMF, World Bank, we need the new government to take clear measures that announce its readiness to tackle corruption up front. We're talking about 350,000 people working for the government as civil servants or the military, and we don't actually know if we need them all, if all people are actually doing their job. So we really need to reconsider all the ways that the government works in terms of civil service, but in terms mainly of public tenders and public markets that are clearly marked with corruption and with kickbacks that are used by political parties to finance their activities. So first, we need signals of commitment to reform and commitment to curbing corruption by this government. Once these signals are available, it will automatically rekindle the fire for some form of public trust and financial trust, which would make then a call for a bailout or renegotiation of our debt more credible. At the same time, we need to understand that as long as Lebanon is facing the risk of confrontation with other countries because of Hezbollah being so powerful, we will not be able to attract enough international investment and enough tourism in order to bring the fresh cash, the fresh inflow of foreign currency that the country severely needs in order to get out of its financial crisis.
Well, let's hope that happens and that the next 100 days bring some more positive news to Lebanon. Thank you very much indeed, Ayman Mhanna, Executive Director of the Samir Kassir Foundation in Beirut. Thank you so much.